Welcome to Hollywood. In this video, we are going to explore the heartbreaking stories of 12 legendary actresses from the golden age of Hollywood who, despite fame and fortune in their prime, tragically died in poverty. 1. Barbara Payton. Barbara Payton's beauty was undeniable, and her early roles in films like Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye with James Cagney made her an overnight sensation. By the early 1950s, she was earning $10,000 a week and had the world at her feet. But Payton's personal life, riddled with scandal, substance abuse, and abusive relationships, quickly spiraled out of control. She became entangled in a violent love triangle with actors Franket Tone and Tom Neal, which played out publicly and harmed her career beyond repair. By the late 1950s, the studios stopped calling. Payton turned to alcohol and eventually prostitution to survive. In her last years, she lived in seedy motels, often without food or clean clothing. She wrote a shocking autobiography titled I Am Not Ashamed, which chronicled her downfall. Barbara Payton died of heart and liver failure in 1967, at just 39 years old, in complete poverty, her once glamorous life reduced to tabloid tragedy. 2. Marie Prévost. Marie Prévost was one of the most beloved silent film actresses of the 1920s. She starred in over 120 films, working with greats like Ernst Lubitsch and Wallace Beery. Known for her comedic timing and beauty, she was poised for long-term stardom. But as the silent era gave way to talkies, Marie struggled with depression, alcoholism, and a noticeable weight gain that studios refused to forgive. Her career faded, and her personal life deteriorated. By the mid-1930s, she was living alone in a small Los Angeles apartment, broke and suffering from malnutrition. In 1937, she died of acute alcoholism and starvation. Her body was discovered days later, a heartbreaking symbol of a forgotten icon. She was only 40. Her tragic death led to the formation of the Motion Picture and Television Fund, created to support destitute film workers, all because of Marie's fate. 3. Frances Farmer. Frances Farmer was hailed as one of the most brilliant actresses of her generation. With performances in Come and Get It and Flowing Gold, she was destined for Oscar glory. But Frances was never comfortable with the studio system. She resisted its control, spoke out against exploitation, and demanded better scripts, making her an enemy of powerful men. Labeled difficult, Frances suffered a mental breakdown in the 1940s. She was institutionalized multiple times, reportedly subjected to electroshock therapy, solitary confinement, and physical abuse. Though she made brief comebacks, Farmer never regained her Hollywood stature. She worked odd jobs, including a hotel clerk, and relied on the kindness of friends. When she died of esophageal cancer in 1970, she was destitute, her legacy tainted by gossip and stigma. Only years later was she re-evaluated as a feminist icon ahead of her time. 4. Bessie Love. Bessie Love was a popular actress during the silent and early talkie eras, known for roles in The Broadway Melody, 1929, and The Lost World, 1925. A favorite of directors and audiences alike, she made over 100 films. But by the 1940s, Hollywood stopped calling. Bessie moved to England, where she took on small theater roles, worked in radio, and even became a schoolteacher to make ends meet. Despite her early fame, Bessie spent much of her later life in relative obscurity and financial hardship. Though she received an honorary pension in her final years, she lived modestly in a small London flat, far from the red carpets she once graced. 5. Peg Entwistle. Peg Entwistle's name may not be familiar, but her tragic legacy endures. A promising stage actress from New York, she moved to Hollywood in hopes of stardom. She landed a small role in the 1932 film 13 Women, but when no further offers came, Peg became deeply depressed. On September 16, 1932, at just 24 years old, Peg climbed to the top of the H in the Hollywoodland sign and jumped to her death. Her body was found the next day. Though not impoverished in the traditional sense, Peg's suicide stemmed from emotional and financial despair, and she became an early symbol of the dark side of Hollywood dreams. 6. Lupe Velez. Lupe Velez was one of the first Latina actresses to make it big in Hollywood. Known for her fiery roles and glamorous lifestyle, she starred in dozens of successful films throughout the 1920s and 30s. But behind the screen persona was deep emotional instability. Her turbulent relationship with actor Harold Ramond and a rumored pregnancy led to depression. Lupe took her own life in 1944 at the age of 36. Though she left behind luxurious possessions, rumors spread that she was drowning in debt, and many of her assets were seized to cover unpaid taxes and expenses. Her death became a twisted Hollywood myth, overshadowing her barrier-breaking legacy. 7. Linda Darnell. Linda Darnell was a stunning screen siren best known for roles in Forever Amber and A Letter to Three Wives. While praised for her talent, she was often typecast and given roles beneath her potential. As her career declined in the 1950s, so did her finances. She took television roles and toured with theater groups to stay afloat. In 1965, while staying at her former secretary's house, a fire broke out. Linda was severely burned and died the next day. She had little money left, no insurance, and no safety net, an undignified end for a former Hollywood queen. 8. Mabel Normand. Mabel Normand was one of the biggest names of the silent era, beloved for her comedic timing and her collaborations with Charlie Chaplin and Fatty Arbuckle. But scandal plagued her career. She was linked to the unsolved murder of director William Desmond Taylor, though never charged, and her reputation suffered. Drug addiction and tuberculosis further isolated her from the industry. By the early 1930s, Mabel was destitute, living off the charity of friends. She died of TB in 1930 at the age of 36, penniless and alone, her legacy reduced to tabloid whispers. 9. Susan Peters. Susan Peters was a rising MGM star, even earning an Oscar nomination for Random Harvest 1942. But in 1945, a hunting accident left her paralyzed from the waist down. MGM dropped her contract shortly after. Determined to continue working, Peters took radio and stage roles, but her medical expenses overwhelmed her. She sank into depression, lost weight drastically, and refused food. Susan Peters died in 1952 at just 31, in poverty and despair, a tragic end to a once promising career. 10. Thelma Todd. Thelma Todd was a comedic star who appeared in over 120 films during the 1920s and 30s. She owned a popular cafe in Pacific Palisades and was one of the few women in Hollywood with business savvy. But Todd was found dead in her car in 1935, inside her garage, possibly from carbon monoxide poisoning. Though officially ruled an accident, her death was surrounded by mystery, including rumors of mob ties and financial ruin. The glamorous lifestyle she portrayed masked the debts and danger she faced. She left behind little money, and her mother was left to sort through lawsuits and unpaid taxes. 11. Patsy Kelly. Patsy Kelly brought laughter to millions with her roles in Hal Roach comedies and films alongside Thelma Todd. But despite her comedic genius, she faced personal and professional struggles. Her career stalled in the 1940s, partly due to her being openly lesbian, a taboo in Hollywood at the time. Work dried up, and she resorted to cleaning houses and working as a caregiver. Though she made a brief comeback in the 1970s, Patsy spent much of her life in near poverty. She died in 1981 in a modest retirement home, far from the limelight she once lit up. 12. Anna May Wong. Anna May Wong was Hollywood's first Chinese-American film star. Despite her trailblazing career, she was consistently passed over for leading roles due to racism and the Hays Code. She spent years working in Europe and touring on stage just to survive. Even at the peak of her fame, she earned far less than white actresses with similar stature. By the time of her death in 1961, Anna was isolated, battling depression, and living modestly in Santa Monica. Hollywood never gave her the credit, or compensation, she deserved. And that brings us to the end of today's sobering journey through old Hollywood. These 12 legendary actresses remind us that even fame and fortune can be fleeting, and that behind every spotlight is a shadow. Some died alone, some died broke, but all of them left a mark on cinema history that deserves to be honored, not forgotten. Make sure to subscribe to Hollywood Actions, give this video a thumbs up, and share your thoughts in the comments. Which actress's story moved you the most? Let us know below. Until next